of the UK Open here at the Copper Box in London. And one of the most familiar names in pool, Jayson Shaw, rounding off the day's proceedings here on the main table. Shaw, a massive favourite for this match against Stephen Folan. We'll also be keeping a close eye on what's happening on the other tables. Shane Van Boening, the world champion, not having things all his own way by any means early on against Scotland's Matthew Wrigley. But now managing to build a bit of momentum and leading 4-2. So very quickly, we're off and running, and alongside me a man who knows Jayson Shaw very well. It's the European Mosconi Cup legend, Carl Boyce.
Thank you, Michael. It's a pretty decent break from Jayson. He's got a shot at the 1. Next ball is going to be the red 3.
Both of these players beat British opposition in the opening round. Shaw was a 9-3 winner over Ali Herji Karaj. And Folan won 9-6 against Craig Brown.
Yeah, Stephen Folan used to live in England many years ago. Now resides in Canada.
Yeah, Vancouver. He made his money in software. Now enjoys a nice life, spent a lot of time playing pool. And what a thrill for him to find himself on the main table against the man who's been MVP at the last 2 Mosconi Cups, former US Open champion.
Yeah, he owns a pool hall as well in Canada, does Stephen.
So that's something they both have in common. Although Jayson's isn't in Canada, of course, it's in the States. Shane Van Boening starting to pull away a bit against Matthew Wrigley. It's 5-2 now, over on the other feature table. And the winner of this will play Mickey Kraus of Denmark, who was on here earlier, defeating Lo Ho Sum, the World Masters runner-up, by 9 racks to 5.
Yeah, he could have potted the red 3 in the other corner, but obviously he felt like position was too tough. That's why he's played the bank shot. This looks a little tight past the 8, so he's got to take a bit of care on this one. Yeah, that was nicely done from Jay. Critical, he gets a good angle on this green 6 ball. That would offer nice position for the brown 7.
If there were ranking points handed out for sociability, I think Jayson Shaw will be the runaway world #1. He was up here chatting away to us for about half an hour or more, together with his wife, before going down to play the match. I think the hardest part for him about actually playing 9-ball pool is that he has to stop talking for an hour or 2. Loves the whole scene, loves to chat and tell stories. And he will love the way he is starting this match in no time at all. Jayson Shaw runs out from the break in the opening rack, and he leads Stephen Folan 1-0. Now, Carl, have you ever heard of the GT Jam?
I'm afraid I've not.
Well, it's an event in Tacoma in Washington, and Folan finished 3rd in it back in 2017.
I thought it was the name of a band or something.
It still does sound like a sort of rap act, doesn't it, from the 1980s? So yeah, we do know that about him. We know he's played in the Derby City Classic a few times. We know he's played in a few US Opens and has won matches in them, in fact. So he's not a complete unknown quantity.
No, he's a dangerous player. Jayson will know this. I'm sure they've played before of course, on paper and all that kind of stuff, Jayson's the favourite, but raised to 9. Using the template. It's a dangerous, dangerous game. He's going to have a shot on the 3 though.
Ko Pin-Yi looking to bounce back from his defeat earlier. 6-1 up against Craig Brown, who was actually beaten earlier, as I was saying, by Stephen Folan.
Tricky little shot, this. Well, it didn't go in clean, did it? It didn't go in clean at all. I'm surprised that one fell. Once it fell last week in Gibraltar on the 4-inch pocket, but it's gone.
I think Jayson Shaw probably wants to forget Gibraltar. Lost his opening match there against Mieszko Fortunski 7-2. The Pole, of course, went on to reach the semi-finals. And this is exactly what Shaw will have wanted to do from the start of the match, having won the lag. Get Folan into his chair, keep him there as long as possible. Ideally, he would hope that by the time Folan gets to the table, he's already 3 or 4 racks behind and under pressure from the off. Couple of break and runs, and in no time at all, Jayson Shaw has opened a 2-0 lead over Stephen Folan. Craig Osborne is on the hill. He's leading Faris Taleb 8-2. Osborne just the sort of player who could have a good run and really make a big name for himself here. Giuseppe Iacobucci of Italy, also on the hill at 8-4 against one of the home contingent, Chris Robson. And after his defeat, Eklund Kachi straight back out there. Just getting started around now against James Jack. Tyler Steyer put off a wonderful recovery earlier to stay in the loser's side, but he's having some early trouble against the South African Jamil Jacobs. He currently trails by 3 racks to 2. Back here, 2-0 to Shaw.
Well, it's another good break, and the 1 ball is sat nice again for Jayson. Purple 5 ball on the right side of the table. He's kind of standing out a little bit. I think Jayson's going to try and move the template, but he's going to wait for the referee to come over, is it?
He likes a challenge. Oh, expertly done.
Would make a fine referee, would Jayson?
Make a fine surgeon with calm, steady hands like that. Shane Van Boning now starting to see the winning line coming into view on the other featured table. 6-2, he leads Matthew Wrigley.
Wonder if he could spin this cue ball in to the purple 5 and the 8. That's what he's tried. He doesn't want to knock the 3 in. He's going to knock the 3 in, so it's gone wrong. He was actually trying to flick the 8 there. Yeah, what he's doing here is he's just having a look where he feels like he needs to contact that 5 ball to pop the 8 in the top corner. It sort of looks like if he goes ball rail at a similar time, maybe just the rail first actually, it would go close. Oh, what a shot that is.
Oh, that's one of the most wonderful shots we've seen all day. And just when Stephen Folan might have been getting ready to stand up and get out of his chair for the first time in the match, Shaw has really come up with the answer there.
Well, that shot there was one way to keep your package going. He wants to run the set out here, let me tell you. Looking good is Jayson. He's happy to leave himself longer on the balls because he's such a prolific potter.
Absolute perfection so far. 3 break and runs from Jayson Shaw. And he's very swiftly into a 3-0 lead in a match where he went in as a massive favourite. Something he's certainly living up to in the early stages. Audrius Mikukovicius of Lithuania has made it to the hill against Simon Ayres. 8-4 he leads. Tashanka Schultz saw on one of the main tables earlier in the tournament, leading Jamie Mocock 8-4. And Jan Rempe has an 8-4 lead over Robin Cripps. Rempe from the Netherlands. Tyler Steyer is levelled at 3-all with Jamil Jacobs. Stephen Folan would love to do something like that. He's got to find a way to the table, and it's out of his hands at the moment. Well, that's come up a treat.
Two ball looks like it's causing some problems. Jason's just having a look. If it goes off the point of the pocket, that'll be okay. So he feels like it does. Over on table 2, SVB has stretched that lead out. It's now 7-2 over Matthew. That's available on Matchroom Pool YouTube channel.
Yeah, I think he was 2-1 down there, so that would be 6 in a row. Been quite a few highlights of 2022 already for Jayson Shaw. You know about that world record attempt, the successful world record attempt, with the 714 balls in a row. And that was in January, and around the same time he won the Turning Stone Classic for a record 7th time. He was well behind in the final against Fedor Gorst, but it all turned on the Russian having a surprising miss on a 2-ball. Shaw turned it round from there. Disappointing World Championship, went out in the last 32. As I said, lost his opening match at the World Pool Masters in Gibraltar just a couple of weeks ago. Was a semi-finalist in the Premier League, and you and I were there, Carl. We know what a tough event that is to do well in. A lot of matches against really good players. Got to prove yourself over and over again. So an up and down year, but I think you'll be happy enough with how it's gone so far.
Yeah, that's gone wrong. You want it to be kind of right in the centre of the table, just to leave a cut shot. May still cut, but it's very thin. Whenever the players start to get to 3 or 4 racks in running a package, you really want to try and run the set, but it's just so rare, you don't see it often. You know, you might see the players do it in practice now and again, but in these situations, it just doesn't really happen. Needs a cue ball to keep bouncing. And that's going to be okay.
Just showing a stubborn refusal to leave the table.
This is looking good now. This is for a 4-pack out the gate. Folan's a spectator.
And we saw Shane Van Boening start yesterday with 5 breaking runs in a row in his match. Shaw is just 1 short of that now. One-way traffic so far. He leads 4-0. And Radoslav Babica has a 5-1 lead over Pablo Garcia Lager. Stephen Ellis, one of the home contingent, going well, 7-4 up against Terence Gulliver of Canada, who we saw on one of the featured tables yesterday. Ian McCormack of Ireland going nicely. Pushed Chris Melling close earlier. He's 6-2 up now against Hassan Shahid. And Ko Pin-Yi still going very strongly, 7-1 now, leading against Craig Brown. Imran Majid 6-5 ahead against the Bulgarian Georgi Georgiev. And Jan Rempe has closed it out at 9-4 against Robin Cripps. Tashunka Schultz through by the same score against Jamie Mocock. Back here, 4-0.
Well, the 1 ball's on, the 3 ball's tied up. He's on a 4-pack. Can he keep going? And I don't think he's going to play conservative. I think once you start running these amount of racks, you know, you sort of get into that mindset of, I want to run the set. This is awkward. He's just looking if he can cheat the pocket and draw and just maybe try and flick the 3 or the 8, but looks pretty straight, that, doesn't it?
It's hard to think of any other sport where you can do this to your opponent. Just keep him a spectator. Even in snooker, well, at least you're going to get to play 1 shot in every frame.
So he's going to draw the cue ball above the 9, below the brown 7, off that side rail, with left spin, and try and get the cue ball just tracking over towards the cluster. This is a big shot. Well, this is an attempt, but it's not quite there. It's very hard to play that shot on a slick table. He's going to be kicking at the 3. Will Folan finally get out of his chair?
Don't think there have been any combinations involved, so it's 40 balls in a row for Jayson Shaw. But this surely the biggest challenge yet to his attempts to keep this going.
He wants to attack at this. He wants to try and pop this ball in the top right corner. He wants to keep this run going.
Oh yeah, such a determination not to let his opponent out of his chair. I think if you hid the object ball under the table, he'd probably still try to pot it. can you believe that? Just when Stephen Folan might have been thinking, I might as well just pick up my cue and leave now, he gets his reprieve. Great effort from Shaw to pot the 3. And then scratches in the side. And now, really good chance for Folan to get back to 4-1.
Yeah, that was a really good kick shot. Obviously, the cue ball was a little bit unlucky, but that just shows you the knowledge and the vision and the talent of Jayson Shaw to even, you know, pot that red 3 ball. And it was a tremendous effort. He was trying to run the set out, but it was a 4-pack in the end. What has Folan got?
Yeah, and that's something we've seen a number of times, isn't it, over the last couple of days, when someone's gone into a match as a big outsider, they've been largely shut out, or in this case completely shut out in the early part of the match, so much so that by the time they get to the table, it becomes a big psychological challenge to really do anything much.
Another great shot from Shaw there. It's a thin one. And he's absolutely perfect on the 8. It's going to be 5.
Copigny has won, bouncing back well. Comfortable 9-1 victory over Craig Brown. So he battles on in this championship. Matthew Wrigley had a chance to stem the tide of Shane Van Boening, get back to 7-3, but he didn't take it. So Van Boening on the hill at 8-2. And at this rate, it's not going to be long before Shaw is on the hill as well. Already he leads Stephen Folan 5-0. News of the British player Marcel Price, 7-5. He leads Anders Edvardsson of Sweden. Michael Schneider, 4-3 up against Petter Urban, who we saw on the main table yesterday, although only quite briefly, against Chris Melling. And Declan Catchy, problems for him early on. He's lost the opening rack against James Jack, battling to stay in it. Tyler Steyer put off that great recovery earlier on the loser's side, but he's got problems. 5-3 he trails now against Jamil Jacobs of South Africa. Alan Brown of Scotland is on the hill against Rich Saunders at 8-5. Another Scot going well, Jayson Shaw, 5-0. Job done for Shane Van Boening. The world champion had a little early difficulty against Scotland's Matthew Wrigley, but in the end it's been every bit as comfortable as you might have expected. SVB the winner by 9 racks to 2.
Can Stephen pot this 2 ball in the corner and avoid the scratch in the side?
He's struggling mentally, isn't he? I mean, that wasn't easy or straightforward, as you alluded to, but he just lacked any belief in the way he played that. Now, is the combination on?
Yeah, I mean, especially where the purple 5 is, Michael, there's no point in potting the 4, so he's got to fight with the combo here, Jayson.
No lack of belief in that, and Jayson Shaw is absolutely cruising along here. Stephen Folan has made it to the table in the last couple of racks, but he's made very little impact. Jayson Shaw leads 6-0.
There you see the current world champ on the right of your screens. Just walking out the arena. He won his match comfortable in the end, 9-2. $256 players came to the Copper Box Arena here in London for the first ever UK Open 9-Ball Championships. The arena's fantastic. Spoke to a few of the players over the last couple of days. A few of them have said it's the best arena they've ever seen. It's all about trying to make it down to that final 16. Look at it like two events, really. Everyone's battling it out for them 16 places, single elimination on Saturday and Sunday. Shorter break. It's all going his way. 6-0.
Yeah, and as we come towards the end of the action for today on the main table, I can tell you what's coming up tomorrow. Denis Orcolio, who we saw on this table today, will be playing Jonas Soto Camino of Spain. First up on table 1. Then Ko Ping Chung will be playing Benji Buckley. And Riku Rompunen of Finland takes on Robbie Capito. So they will be the first 3 matches on this main table in tomorrow's play, and they'll then be followed by 2, possibly 3, depending how the schedule goes, matches from the round after that here on the main table.
Jayson, that was shocking, man. What you doing? Just fired it into the rail straight away. Now, could Stephen make something happen in this match? He's quite talented. He can get on a roll. His nickname is actually Rolling, Stephen Rolling Folan. And boy, does he need to get on a roll here. This looks like it's lacking a little bit of pace. May just be okay. As long as he can avoid the 6, he's fine.
Just returning to tomorrow's play, over on the other featured table, Chris Melling against Alex Kazakis. Now that's a treat to start the day. It's pretty good after that as well. Dmitry Yungo against Wojciech Szewczyk. And then Billy Thorpe plays John Morra. Clash of the US and Canada. So 5 matches scheduled on both of the featured tables tomorrow. But then the potential for a 6th match to be added if they're getting through quickly.
Predicted this come day 3 and 4 of the latter stages of this double elimination. You're going to see proper matchups where 2 great players are playing each other.
Yeah, and that's really underlined by the matches we've just gone through there. Into the 3rd round of the winner's side by then. Well, he looked very ill at ease on his previous visits to the table. So this has been a good effort from Stephen Folan, and he's almost finished the job here.
Well, he'd have liked another roll on the cue ball there. That's just left it not ideal. I mean, he's still got a shot and he should still be okay, but it's not quite as natural as he would have liked. Cue ball looks shy of pace here. He's landed on the 50-yard line.
Oh, this is horrible, isn't it? What a shot to leave yourself to win your first rack in a match where you've been completely dominated and outplayed so far. And well done, Stephen Folan. That was a really good effort to hold his nerve and pot that 9. So he isn't going to be whitewashed. Jayson Shaw now leads 6-1. Now, if you want a bit of Naoki Oi, it's available to you on the Matchroom Pool YouTube channel. He's going to be coming on very shortly to play James Welch. That's a match that's been added. They've completed the scheduled 6 matches over on the other featured table, so that's now been added. Naoki Oi against James Welch on the Matchroom Pool YouTube channel. And of course, you'll be able to continue watching that after this one is finished. Gary Wilson, one of the snooker contingent here, former World Snooker Championship semi-finalist. He's back in action around now, battling to stay in it against Babkin Melkonyan of Romania.
Yeah, that's a tricky match for Gary. Babkin's a tidy player. And of course that is the left side of the draw, the losers round.
Tyler Steyer also on that side of the draw. 5-4 now he trails against Jamil Jacobs. Imran Majid is 7-6 ahead against the Bulgarian Georgi Georgiev.
Well, he didn't get the hook, but he's got distance.
Andrius Mikokovicius of Lithuania still on the hill, not quite able to see off Simon Ayres yet. That's 8-7 now. And Alan Brown of Scotland has just beaten Rich Saunders in an all-British clash, 9 racks to 6. Well, a bit of everything happened there. Missed the pot, fluked it in the side, but by then he'd already scratched.
Lost the cue ball a little bit there. He wanted to be low on this 3 ball. Now he's...
Just going to ask you, Carl, any memories for you of playing against Jayson Shaw that stand out?
Yeah, we've played a few times actually. The biggest memory I've got, we played in the quarterfinals of the US Open when it was in Chesapeake. 2015, I think it was. 16? 15 or 16. Of course I won, otherwise it would have been a bad memory. It was a good match actually, from what I remember. I think it was 11-9 in the end.
It was a quiet year for him generally in 2021, but of course he finished it by becoming a different animal at the Mosconi Cup, as he tends to do. And given the way he embraces the whole atmosphere of that event so much, in the future, do you see him as a Mosconi captain?
Maybe so, yeah. I mean, it's obviously very early days. It's kind of hard to see how a player's career is going to go when it comes to an end, or they decide to end it. But he just loves playing in that type of format. Not so much the Mosconi Cup, it's just the fact of playing in front of people is what he loves.
Yeah, and I mean, that was one of the big talking points at the Mosconi last year, because obviously we'd had it in Coventry the year before with no crowds because of everything that was going on with COVID. And nobody embraced the return of the audiences at Alexandra Palace quite like Jayson Shaw. A leader on the table and a cheerleader off it.
Very tidy safety shot as well there, good speed control. Well, I think 6-1 down against Jayson, Stephen. I think you've just got to try and make something happen here. Looks quite hard to find a kick safe, so just maybe give it a good old whack and see if it's your day. That's what he's done, but unfortunately it just isn't gonna happen.
Well, it wasn't a million miles away from working out, was it? Because it didn't go too far away from the side pocket. You're absolutely right, though. It was just one of those, give it a go, hope for the best, and a bit of pressure off him now because he won't have wanted to come away with a 9-0 defeat. Yes, as much as anything, he can just enjoy what are likely to be these final few racks.
These can always be a little bit awkward. They seem a bit easier when they're just off the rail, when you're shooting past the side pocket, and Jayson knows these pockets are playing forgiving this week. I'm sure you've all done it if you play Nineball and you're watching, where you hit the far jaw on the middle pocket.
So Folan finally got a breaking rack. He wasn't able to win it. Jayson Shaw resuming normal service and now leading 7-1. We were talking about last year's Moscone. A couple of the players who were involved in danger of going out here. Over on the loser's side, Tyler Steyer now trails Jamil Jacobs 6-4. And Eklund Kachi back in action not long after going out of the winner's side of the draw, trailing 3-2 against James Jack. Still some way to go in that one. And a hill finish now. Simon Ayres just clinging on and clinging on. Well, he's taken it to 8-all against Audrius Mikokavicius of Lithuania. Nikos Economopoulos going well. 5-2 advantage against the American Pedro Botta. And Britain's Arfan Dad 3-0 up against compatriot Joe Granville. Even Coelho of Portugal on the hill against Bharat Ramakrishna of India. That one is 8-2. 7-1 here.
Yeah, Arfan Dad, very good friends with Chris Mellin, English 8-ball player.
Oh, I've not seen many of those this week so far, have we? A golden break from Jayson Shaw. Talk about rubbing it in. And in the blink of an eye, he's on the hill at 8-1. Well, just got absolutely smacked in the face by the two. Well, it's an all GB clash. GB standing for Great Britain. In that case, it stood for golden break. I think that might be the first one, certainly I've seen on the main table. Don't know if you spotted one, Carl?
No, I don't think I have, actually, to be honest.
With loads of them at the World Championship. Well, normally I'd now be updating you on the scores from the other tables, but of course they've barely changed since the end of the previous rack. One thing that has changed, though, is that James Jack has now extended his lead over Eklund Kachi to 4-2.
Well, it's been one of them matches for Stephen Folan. Nothing has gone right. It's all gone in favour of Jayson. Oh, yeah, he's played well as Jayson, of course, but it helps when you get in the shots.
But, you know, it's been a good couple of days for Folan. He got his win. He's played one of the best players in the world. And he'll live to fight on the other side.
He's lost the cue ball, though. I think the scratch is there, is it? No, of course it's not going to scratch Stephen.
Pool gods aren't giving him anything, are they? Imran Majid on the hill against Georgi Georgiev at 8-6. Majid still looking to get that one finished off.
Yeah, it sneaks past this 7, and if the cue ball, the natural path, finds that gap, then it's ideal. A little bit shorter pace. Can he just roll it in, or does he have to do something a bit juicy with the cue ball?
Well, he started this match by potting 40 balls in a row. He actually did manage to pot a 41st. Wonderful kick shot, but he scratched as well. Even so, he still proceeded from there to a 6-0 lead. Folan did manage to get 1 rack on the board, but with the help of a golden break along the way, Jayson Shaw made a dash for the line, taking 3 in a row to close it out. Jayson Shaw then, a very comfortable winner and a very accomplished performance. He's beaten the Canadian-based British player Stephen Folan by 9 racks to 1. That then is the completion of the action on this table, but there is still more pool to watch over on the Matchroom Pool YouTube channel. James Welch and Naoki Oi has been added to the schedule over on the other featured table. That one just getting underway, so you can go over there to have a look at that if you so wish. We will be back with the action on the main table at 11 o'clock UK time tomorrow. It's a slightly later start, so do make sure to join us for that. Jayson Shaw has signed off.